So let's jump right in. Does your career ever feel less like a nice straight ladder and more like a chaotic, constantly shifting puzzle? If that sounds familiar, you're definitely not alone. We're going to unravel why our work lives have gotten so complicated. And to do that, we have to look at the world we left behind and the seriously dizzying one we're in now.
Everything really starts with this one person, the organization man. This guy was the absolute ideal employee back in the mid-20th century. The deal was simple. You give the company your total unwavering loyalty, and in return, they promise to take care of you for life. That simple, powerful contract, that's the key to understanding just how much things have been turned completely upside down.
All right, first up, let's get to know this organization man a little better. Let's get a feel for the world he lived in, a world that was all about stability and loyalty.
See, the organization man didn't just appear out of nowhere. He was a product of what we call the modern era. You can think of it as the age of the machine. After the Industrial Revolution, the name of the game for any company was efficiency, right? Finding that one single best way to do absolutely everything. And that whole mindset created work environments that were incredibly structured and, you guessed it, predictable.
Now, be honest. Does that sound anything like your work life today? Yeah, I didn't think so. That stable, predictable ladder, it's been replaced by something way more complex and, let's face it, a lot more confusing. And the reason why is what we're jumping into next.
So what was it that just shattered this stable world? Well, the short answer is globalization. And it didn't just make a few small waves. Oh no, it created a massive tidal wave of change that dragged us into a totally new era, what some people call the postmodern era.
And you can really see the shift so clearly right here. The modern era was obsessed with logic and finding that one best way. But that got replaced by the reality of the information revolution, a world that's just faster, more broken up, and way less consistent. And when life gets less consistent, you better believe our work lives do too.
So how exactly did globalization do all this? Well, scholar Peter Monge breaks it down into three big effects. First, time and space got compressed, basically squished together. Everything moves faster, and it's always 9 a.m. somewhere, right? Second, global consciousness. We suddenly have to be aware of all these different cultures and beliefs. And third, this really fascinating but kind of strange idea called disembeddedness.
This quote just nails the idea of disembeddedness. Our work isn't tied to a specific physical place anymore. I mean, you could be answering emails from anywhere. This sense of placelessness is a huge part of the modern work experience, and it has a profound effect on our sense of who we are.
And that leads us straight into the really personal side of all this change. Because when the world speeds up and our jobs get detached from any specific place, it kicks up these huge questions about identity, not just for companies, but for us as people.
Okay, so on the company side of things, you get what some have called McDonaldization. In a messy, fragmented world, big global brands like Nike or Disney or Samsung fight to create this super clear, solid identity that you can recognize instantly no matter where on Earth you are.
But for us, for individuals, man, the picture gets a lot more complicated. That old working class promise, the one that says hard work guarantees a better life, that feels pretty shaky to a lot of people now. Traditional roles are totally being flipped, with women now the primary earners in about 40% of American households. And because so much of our work is about ideas and information, stuff you can't touch, it's easy to feel, well, kind of expendable.
Which leads us to this question. A question I'm sure many of you have asked yourselves at some point. It's this feeling that we're supposed to give our company everything. But job security feels like something from a history book. Well, that feeling, that disconnect, it's rooted in a massive shift in our whole economy.
And that big shift is the move from a manufacturing economy to a service economy. We've basically gone from a world where most people made things to a world where most people manage interactions and, well, feelings.
And this number right here, it is just staggering. After World War II, only about 10% of jobs were in the service sector. Today, it's the overwhelming majority. This is without a doubt one of the most dramatic economic changes in all of history.
And here's why this matters to you personally. This shift is the reason why skills like customer service and dealing with people, what we call emotional labor, aren't just for a few jobs anymore. They're at the very core of millions and millions of jobs. The product we're often selling is an experience.
So you take all these massive forces,
Globalization, our identity struggles, the rise of the service economy, and they've all come together to create one final and pretty stark new reality: the end of the job for life and the rise of what you might call the disposable worker.
I mean, the contrast here couldn't be more extreme. Back in 1952, almost 2/3 of top executives had been with the same company for over 20 years. They were lifers. That world, it's just gone. Today, hopping between jobs is totally normal. The basic deal between a worker and a company has been completely ripped up and rewritten.
So the organization man has been replaced by a totally new character, the contingent worker. We're talking about the freelancers, the contractors, the temp staff who make up a huge part of today's workforce. Instead of that lifelong bond, the relationship is now temporary. It's project-based, and that changes absolutely everything.
So, we've traveled all the way from the stable, predictable world of the organization man to our current, fast-paced, fragmented reality. We're not climbing one single ladder anymore. We're all trying to navigate this complex, global system. Which brings us to the final question, and it's one that only you can answer. In this brand new world of work, what's your story going to be?